What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. My name is Nicole and I'm a recovering addict. My sobriety date is July 13th of 2015. And we are going to have a special guest speaker tonight, you guys. I met a guy named Tyler in a Mara meeting the other night, and he wanted to come on and share his story, which I'm all about that life. Y'all know I love it when people come on and share their stories. So what we're going to do is we're going to hang out, wait till he comes on. It should be like 5 minutes or so. Yeah, it's 6:53. So I'm going to text him and let him know that I'm ready whenever he is, and we'll get the show on the road. Hold on just a second. I know there's 5 of you guys in here right now. Hey guys, I see everybody. Hey. I hope you guys are all having a great day. Let me get organized. Y'all know how I am. Let me get organized. Share this over to there. Bada bing, bada boom. Hey everybody. Hey Shelly, what's up, girl? Hey Des, what's up? Hey Nancy. Hey everybody. I see everybody coming in now. Good morning. Good morning. Oh yeah, Des, I forget. You're in Australia, huh? Hey Freya on the okay girl, I'm looking right now. Oh, you mean on the office number? Okay. All right. Hey Tyler. Tyler, are you coming on with me now? Okay. Oh, you're here. Oh, let me give you the link. Did I not send you the link? I'm a nerd. Hold on. Let me get the link for you. So I'm going to text you this link on your cell phone. All you got to do is click the link, Tyler, and it will bring you on the screen with me. So hold on. Let me grab it real fast. Okay, there we go. Hey, Ashley. What's up, girl? I like the way you spell your name. Okay, Tyler, there you go. I just sent you the link. Check your text messages and you click that link and it'll bring you over here. It'll just prompt you to like put in your screen name and stuff like that, and then you'll be on the screen with me. Hey, Cindy. If you're watching from Facebook, I want to encourage you guys to come over here to the YouTube side of things, because for some reason I cannot see Facebook comments on my computer. Now I can bring them up on my. I see you back there. Hang tight, okay? I'm going to bring you on in just a second. I'm going to give you a second to get yourself situated. Hey, Brandon, what's up? Okay, now let me get in here. Where's my share squad at? I need my share squad. Everybody that's on Facebook, help me share this video so that way I can get it out to people that need to see it. I know that, there's a bunch of people that don't even know we're here on the YouTube side of things. Hey, Dylan, what's up? How you doing? You ready, Tyler? Okay, I'm bringing you on. You got your makeup on? Because you're going to be famous now.
Oh,
what's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. What about you, man?
I'm super grateful to be here. Super grateful to be here. Yep.
You ain't got to be nervous. We're so laid back here. It's super chill. I mean, you're going to hear my dogs barking in the background, most likely. So just ignore that. Like, you might even see my little boy. He's 6 years old. He'll come over here and tell me that I need to get him some food. Just ignore that too. You are the star of the show. So, yeah, I'm going to let you just kind of, I don't know if, I'm sure you've shared your story before, what it was like when you were growing up, what your life was like in your addiction, how you got there, and then what your life is like now. And you share whatever you're comfortable with sharing, okay?
Yeah, no big deal. Thank you.
You're welcome. Go right ahead.
I appreciate that. Listen, so yeah, my name's Tyler. And man, so first of all, let me just say that like I'm super grateful to be here and be able to have this opportunity. As I'm like coming into a new into like a new piece of my journey right now. So this is kind of like extra special for me. So I'll share my story, like what it was like, you know, what happened and where I'm at now, kind of like my experience, strength, and hope, in a nutshell. And it's been a while since I've shared like my whole story, to be honest with you. So
cool. Oh, you're gonna be fine. If you get like stuck for some reason, or if you kind of like, I'll ask you questions. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, I gotta ask you a question, and then I'll say, you know, whatever the question is. So you're gonna be just fine.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So so I was born in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I live pretty close to Portsmouth now. But I was born into a military family at first, and you know, from my earliest memories, I don't remember my biological father. Right, he ended up being a career Marine, and you know, all I ever heard about him was bad things and how he was abusive towards women, and you know, physically, emotionally, and like so. I think that like I grew up with a resentment, you know,
Yeah.
feeling like, and like also having that feeling of like abandonment, planted in me from early on. But the man who raised me, was probably one of the best men that I've ever met in my life. Grew up in an alcoholic home with him as well. And even though he was an alcoholic, he was like what they call a functioning alcoholic, and you know, he always made sure that like we had everything that we needed as kids. And you know, I was my mother's only child. He brought 3 other kids into the family that were all older than I was, and like I was kind of like segmented away that way too. You know what I mean? Kind of always alone, but like I remember growing up very involved in sports. Like I really never wanted for anything. I was always pretty athletic. I played hockey my whole life. And I got like really good grades when I applied myself. I was always a very good athlete. And then
I was the same way.
I
Like,
remember.
I
Huh?
love doing sports. I like excelled in school, but it was like you said, if I applied myself, and that was the
Right.
problem. I was always like trying to just make it by, you know?
Yeah. Like when I wanted to do good, I did excellent, right? And then when like that switch went off and Tyler was like, you know, wanted to just be rambunctious, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And around like 5th grade, man, I remember that was the first time that my parents split up, and my mother had taken me, and we moved to Riot, which is like a very rich town here in New Hampshire, and it's very small community. Everybody knows each other. It's very tight, and they live right on the beach, right? So like multi-million-dollar homes, right? And my mother and I, we moved into a trailer park in Riot, and I remember going to school and being called like trailer trash, and you know, looked at like just different, you know, and like I walked in there wearing like, this was in the 90s, right? So I walked in there wearing like sagging pants with my Nike Airs on, and then there was all these kids wearing like skater pants and Vans and stuff like that, and I was like, who are you guys? Like, I didn't, it was like a whole nother world. And, just like any good addict, from the beginning, I started dressing to fit in,
Yeah.
I feel like I always did a lot of things to fit in my whole life. And it was that way all the way up through junior high. Right. And like, I remember, like, I had my first beer probably at like 9 years old, man. Like, with the boys around the campfire going camping. We did that whole thing all the time, and we went on hunting and fishing trips, and it turned out that they were more like drinking trips. Half the time, the only thing we called was a buzz. But, 8th grade, I remember, was the first time I got in trouble with the law, and it was for selling
8th grade?
weed. Yeah.
That's like what, 15?
Yeah, no, not
16?
14. 14.
14.
Maybe.
Damn,
Yeah.
what were you doing?
So I got in trouble for selling weed. Selling weed, yeah, my mother's weed at that.
Oh, shit.
Yep. And they put me on like a chins petition because I was underage. So it's like juvenile probation.
My sister had to go through the same thing when she was 14 because she was like jumping out of our window and like skipping school and all this stuff. And so my parents wouldn't be held responsible because they could not control her.
Right.
They put her on that petition thing so that way they wouldn't go to jail if she didn't show up at school. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's what brought a lot of heat down from my parents onto me. The same thing. Because like neither one of my parents, like, even though my dad was an alcoholic and drove drunk half the time, and like my mom was always smoking weed every day of her life, they never got in trouble.
Right.
Like, that shit never got them in trouble. And for me to get in trouble at such a young age was really looked down upon, especially in the kind of community that I was growing up in.
Yeah.
So like, right from then, like, I kind of was faced with like a lot of guilt and shame, and instead of like cowering from it, I kind of let it define me and embraced it, and because it was like I got a lot of attention from it,
Yeah.
and like I didn't know the difference between positive and negative attention at the time. I just knew attention was attention, and it didn't matter, right? Like, as a teenage kid, they're like, oh, that's cool, right? Like, whoa, look at the kid from the wrong side of the fucking beach line, if you want to call it that. Like, he's a badass, and I'm like, this is not badass, but like, if that's what you want to call it, sure. So after that, I went back to Portsmouth High School, where I was back with like a whole another group of people, right? And that's so Portsmouth High School had Riot and all like these surrounding towns that all went to it. So I was back with like the people that I started going to school with. And like freshman year was where I started like that experimental stage of my using. And it was the first time that I got sent away to like what they call it, YDSU, which is basically juvenile hall, right? They have two different versions of juvenile hall here in New Hampshire, though. So they have YDSU, which is like prison for kids, and then they have YDC, which is like jail for kids. If anybody knows the difference, they're kind of like two different animals. I'm sure everybody knows the difference. So like I went there, and then I came out of there for a month, and then I ended up getting right back into trouble again. Like, it was always the old crowd, It was always me trying to fit in with people, and like I chameleonized myself with everybody. Like, I wasn't that kid in high school who who like hung out with one group of people and got in trouble there, right? Like I hung out with as many different groups as I could and got in trouble everywhere and anywhere.
I know what
I
you
was,
mean.
yeah, I just like I
Like I
always
wasn't a skater, I wasn't a goth, I wasn't a nerd, I wasn't a prep, I wasn't like I was everything. I would go
yeah,
from people to group and just mingle with everybody.
yep, yeah, and I feel like that's was like almost like the early prep stages for what I would need to become in addiction,
Yes.
you know? Like
Mhm.
I would need to be able to chameleonize myself to like get what I needed when my addiction would take off. And oh man. You know, that's funny. Like I didn't even really think of that until just now. I love when that happens. Um
Whisper it.
I So I remember, like my freshman year, I missed a lot of it, and like every year in high school, I ended up having to go into summer school just to make up grades and credits, and like my sophomore year was pretty much the same, like drinking and smoking during the day and missing school, and you know, um, and
And
then
this
I
is in
got sent.
your freshman year of high school. Like you're
Yeah,
missing school, you're smoking, you're drinking, you're partying,
yeah,
all that stuff.
sophomore year was the same. It was just like that, and like in and out of YDC and YDSU, and then I went to this place called Odyssey House, which was my first like rehab
Mhm.
for it, but it's not. They call it treatment, but it's like a program for juveniles who are clearly like on the wrong path, right?
We have
And
one called, they call it the Gist House, and it stands for Get Your Shit Together. And basically, what it is like confrontation therapy, where like the other kids in there, you have to hold each other accountable by like writing each other up and
oh
like
wow,
all kinds of. It's pretty much it sucks. I had to go there.
yeah, that's like snitch school.
Yeah. And then I went to a prison that does the same thing, only
Ooh,
it's a minimum security prison, but it's still prison. And you
yep,
have to do the same thing there too.
yep, that's crazy. Thank God we don't do that here.
When's the first time you think you when was the first time were you already doing like really hard drugs in ninth grade?
So, I mean, probably the hardest drug that whatever you consider hard drugs, right? Like I had dabbled in prescription meds. I had done some cocaine then, and like that was like, like acid, mushrooms, but nothing more than that really. Um, that stuff would come later on. I know that my junior year, like when we were talking about applying ourselves in school, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I really applied myself my junior year, and I made the honor roll, right? And then like my senior year, I made it with just enough credits to graduate on time, like the skin of my teeth, man. And then like through some like trials and tribulations afterwards, I didn't go to college. I got in some like messy relationships afterwards, and I moved around a little bit, and I ended up joining up with a gang in my early 20s, and like I'm grateful that I'm not a part of that gang anymore. Um, it was it didn't line up with like the way that I ended up feeling when I came into recovery, which was huge. But like 19 years old, man. Like I lost my license at 19 years old. I'm 30. I'm going to be 35 in 6 years, and I didn't have my license until about 6 months ago. It was like 14 years I lost my license, so I was dependent on people and friends for a long time, and like that search for being wanted and like what do you want to call it, like friendship and whatever relationships that crave for attention is what brought me there, right? Like that's what was attractive. Um, and so right, 18 years old, uh, 18, 19 years old, I started going into big boy jail, right? And it was things like I got an inciting a riot charge one time, right, for just this big fight. It was just a huge fight, right? And but they call it a riot, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Um, my early 20s, man, was just a mess. It was just a mess, and I had gotten to the point where I was drinking every day, daily. Like I was a daily drinker, an alcoholic, if you will, right? But I still kept like prescription meds always in my pocket, and like I was getting into trouble from blacking out and getting into fights and getting arrested, and I was in and out of county jail for a long time here in Rockingham County, and I did a couple county years. And I went to my first treatment, my first actual treatment, at 23 years old, and it was a place called Keystone Hall. I went to that 28-day program, and like I had already like seen what addiction was doing to me then, right? And like I lost pretty much everybody. Like my family was already ashamed of me, right? Um, and I had this one person that would end up being my girlfriend that she held me down through that. Like she held me down through the 28-day program. She brought me smokes, you know, she came and visited me, and like I ended up being with her for like a year and a half until I relapsed, right? So I did like the 12-step fellowship for that year and a half. What they didn't know was that I was smoking weed the whole time, right? And I don't have a problem with smoking weed, right? Like I can probably make my life unmanageable with it, but I know that there's people that don't, and I know that there's people that use medically assisted treatment with marijuana, and I support that 100%.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I went to AA, and I did 3 meetings a week. I didn't get a sponsor, right? Like I didn't call anybody. I was just going to meetings, right? Like so I didn't really give it a chance, you know, and with like a little over a year and a half, I ended up going back out, right? And I relapsed, and you know, I only know one way to relapse, really, and that's to like relapse hard, you know, and that's what I did, man. And then I ended up getting with this girl as like a rebound, and she got pregnant, and then I married her, man, because I thought that was the right thing to do, you know. And like I tried to make it work, and my addiction didn't slow down, and we ended up getting divorced. You know, like I'm happy to say that like I got a beautiful daughter out of it, you know, and she's still in my life now, and I'm so grateful for that, man, because she's my angel. So you know, after that divorce, like I kept running, and then like the bigger defining moment of my life that I feel like is probably going to be like the defining moment of my life, other than finding recovery, is you know, I was like 25 years old, and my dad died of cancer, of liver cancer, and like the man I looked up to my whole life, and so when he died, man, well, when we found out he got cancer, I had moved home to help my mother, because like he was given either 2 months to live on comfort meds, or they were going to do chemo and see what would happen to get him to get the transplant. And so we opted for chemo, and I moved home to try and help out with things. And they gave him 1 dose of chemo, and it sent his body into septic shock. and like I sat by my dad's bed the night that he died, and he did one of those like horror screams, sat up, screamed, and he was gone. That was at like 5:30 in the morning. So what happened then was like that was really traumatic for me, but like my mother and him weren't legally married at that time, so my oldest stepsister that we had grown up with, we were a family for 20 years. Everything went to her, right? The inheritance and like she's next of kin. So she evicted my mother and I out of the house. Like she turned her back. She wanted the house. She wanted the truck. She wanted everything. Landscaping company. And she put my mother and I out on our ass. She came to the house with the cops and served us fucking eviction notices. Like, that's my sister, man. And like that crushed me. And so like that was the first time I became homeless. And I had nowhere to go, man. Like my mother, she moved in with her parents, so there was no room for me, and like I went up to Laconia and with a girl that I knew, and I was just trying to stuff the pain, really. Like that's a lot of the reason for my use is stuffing emotions, and I didn't want to feel that pain, man, and like I was just searching for anything to take that away, and the place where I was staying, there was some kind of shady stuff going on, and I had asked if anybody knew where to get some Percocets or something like that, and they were like, well, we can't find any perks, but we got this, right? And that was my introduction into heroin, right? And the first time I used heroin, I used it in an IV, and I was off and running. I never used it another way. So for about a year-ish, year and a half, like my life became hell, right? It was anything to get the next one, and it was dope and crack and stealing and robbing and just shitty, and I got picked up by probation after like a year, right? On a warrant, and I came back down and I did my time, and and then I was homeless again because I still didn't have a place to go. So I was homeless in Portsmouth this time, and I started working for this moving company, and I was trying to stay clean. I had a good like 2 months or something, and then as soon as I saw people that I was working with getting high, like I got high again too. You know, like I had no defense. I didn't really know shit about recovery. And then like that spiraled into another toxic relationship, and through like another series of crimes committed over the getting and finding ways and means to get more. I caught my first prison sentence, and like that sent me upstate for 2 years, and so after those 2 years, I paroled out into Manchester, New Hampshire, and like I was clean for pretty much that whole 2 years. Well, while I was in the halfway house, sorry, skip back like 3 months before I paroled out into Manchester. I went to the halfway house where you can work and stuff and be out in the community and whatnot. And like before I was even technically released from prison, I was using again. And like I ended up overdosing for the first time in my life in that halfway house in Manchester. And I had to get Narcaned 4 times for me to come back. So long story short, they sent me back to prison for a 90-day setback, and then I paroled out. And then from there, man, I did my thing for a little while. I paroled down into a rooming house, which anybody who's lived in a rooming house knows that, like, or at least a rooming house in Manchester, New Hampshire, like, you are not going to stay clean in a rooming house
They're
in
like
Manchester,
just
New Hampshire.
everybody has like they rent rooms.
Yeah.
And so some people are like smoking crack in one room, somebody over here shooting dope in this room. I've lived in places like that too.
Yeah. These are, so you have like you have a shared bathroom for like 9 different rooms, you know, on one floor. It's just ridiculous, man. And like I know some people doubtedly that stayed sober in there, but like for me, I couldn't, right? And
Yeah.
once again, like I started using again. I met another girl, right? Because that's my thing, is like relationships can't be alone through like codependency, and you know, and she became my using partner, and like I thought I had it made for a while, to be honest with you. I thought that like I was living the life because I, you know, ended up with like a solid connect, and I was making some money, and like everything was paying for itself, and then like it was all good until it wasn't, right? And like those years in Manchester is when my addiction really took off. And like then it wasn't just dope, and it wasn't dope and crack. It wasn't dope and crack, and then like it was like dope and crack, and then and pretty much it was like anything you had, I wanted. It went in a needle, and I couldn't get enough. Right? Like it didn't matter, man. And like I sold everything. I robbed everyone, right? That I knew. Um, and I ended up homeless again, man. And that on parole, mind you, doing this, and and then they have this thing called a firehouse respite, or like safe station. So you can walk into any firehouse here in New Hampshire and say that you're suffering from substance use, and they put you in this place, which is like a stabilization unit, to where they can get you into a 28-day program. And so I ended up doing that twice. But each time I ended up homeless. And for me, when I end up homeless, like I equate that with being hopeless. All right. So when I'm hopeless, I go to what I know. And for only thing that I know is using. All right. And so every time I ended up homeless, I just gave up. I gave up on myself. And I gave up on trying to get my life back. And I ended up getting arrested, and you know, Valley Street became like the second home to me. That's the county jail in Manchester. And you know, I don't know how I got so many chances, but like I was on parole, and then I got put on probation on top of parole, and then finally they gave me drug court, right? And like drug court, I had heard was just a setup for failure.
I heard that too.
I heard that like it was a setup for failure. You'll never make it through it, and yada yada yada. Right? So I was sitting in the county jail, and I'm like, I just want to get out, man. Like I don't care what I have to do. You know what I mean? And I asked my lawyer, and I was like, is this a setup for failure? He goes, Tyler, you know, it's a setup for failure if you want to continue to get high. He said, but if you're done and you want to do it right and like find recovery, then you have a whole team of people that are there to help you. And like so I signed on to drug court, man. You know, I wish I could say that I stayed clean then, but like that's not my story. You know, I got out, and I got out to a 28-day program in Dublin, New Hampshire, called Phoenix House. And from there, I went right back into Manchester to a 90-day program called Terrell House. And right back to Manchester, all I knew were people that I was getting high with, right? And so that was when I first tried using medically assisted treatment, Suboxone. And like that worked for me. It worked for me for a little while, until I got kicked out of Terrell House, right? And I got kicked out of Terrell House, and then my insurance went away, right? So then, what am I doing? I'm back to getting high again because I'm homeless. I got no insurance, and drug court's up my ass, and you know, and then finally they have enough, and they throw you back in, right? And they say, okay, you need to go to treatment again. And so they had enough, and they put me in for like a week, which is their sanction, and then they let me out again, and I was right back to the street. Every time they let me out, I went back to being homeless, right?
Right.
And so like I just kept using, man, and like I'll never forget the last time that they let me out to the street. I was walking back and forth all over Manchester, right? And I have a couple ruptured discs in my spine, man, and like they're in my L5, and L4, and those were pinching my sciatic nerve that goes all the way down the back of your leg. So I was having trouble walking, and like I was up all night doing math and just walking all over the fucking town, just trying to play middleman to feed my addiction, and like I got to the point where like I knew I was gonna die, or like I needed medical attention, and because at that point, like I had gotten in and out of hospitals. I had like abscess. I ended up having a cellulitis infection on my hand where they had to cut me all the way open, and like I still had stitches in this while I was using. I was lucky I didn't lose my hand, and like I knew I needed medical attention, and I was trying to walk to Elliott Hospital in Manchester, and I got to the point where I could not walk anymore, and I started crawling up that street. I started crawling up that street towards the hospital, and not one person stopped to ask me if I needed help. Not one person even looked at me. I don't think. You know, maybe they did, but like they didn't stop. And like, you know, when they say like let's have a moment of silence in those meetings, to remember the sick and suffering addict, I use that moment of silence to think of that pain. That's what I think of during that moment of silence. And like I spent 6 weeks in that hospital, and like that's when I really had that like proverbial spiritual awakening, as they call it, right? And I don't know if it was so much as a spiritual awakening or it was just like I had had enough, you know, because I like I said, I just lost, and like the next thing after jails and institutions is fucking death, you know, and that's where I was headed, man. You know, it had happened a couple times through overdoses, and like it just wasn't my time, and I spent those 6 weeks in the hospital to really adjust my life and do some soul searching for once. And the only people that came to visit me was my mother, and she brought my daughter, and you know, with her to come and see me, and I had a couple people from NA that came and like dropped off some literature and you know, some shit for me to read and stuff. And in drug court, my counselors, yes, they came to see me as well. And like, yeah, I just took those 6 weeks for myself to really like reset my life and like what my goals were and like what I wanted. And I went to another 28-day program, and I knew that I needed to get the fuck out of Manchester. For me, right? Like I know that the geographic location is not always a cure, right? But it sure as fuck helped me. I'll give you that, right? Because it put me in a new area from a 28-day program to a 90-day program that put me back out on the street where I didn't know anybody, right? So what I did was there was this recovery community organization called SOS in Dover, New Hampshire, where I was in my 90-day treatment. And if I wasn't at the treatment house, I was at this recovery community organization, or I was at meetings. And I stuffed myself in the middle of recovery, man. And I got a sponsor, and like I just stayed, man. But so this is where kind of like that new chapter in my recovery flips, right? And it's very new because all I knew then was 12-step meetings, right? That's all I really knew. That's all we really have around here, right? And so like I'm working 12-step meetings and like I'm doing step work and I'm on MAT Suboxone this whole time, right? And I'm fucking hiding it. I have to hide it from my sponsor because through conversations with him, I have the feeling that like he won't take me through step work if he knows, right? And like I hear in the rooms all the time about people, saying you're not really clean if you're on MAT, and like that made me feel like shit, and like I hid that, and so like, what's that saying? Like you're only as sick as your secrets, right? It's a shitty secret to have to keep in, man. To feel like you're not going to be accepted. I didn't feel like I was accepted or my recovery was good enough in those rooms. At SOS, where we support all pathways of recovery, sure, it's good enough, right? And that's fucking phenomenal. But in your 12-step meetings in this community, most times it's not. And so it's like being caught up in two worlds, man, and like having to live a fucking split personality. So around 20 months clean, right? I got all the gifts of recovery back that they talk about, right? Like I ended up getting my license back. I got a car. I got engaged, right? And I have a new son, right? He's only 3 months old, like yesterday, which is fucking amazing. He's adorable as shit. And like I got my daughter back in my life all the time now too, right? And my fiance has a daughter who I love, and like I have this great life going on for me now. I'm working at SOS, and like on the outside looking in, it's like, oh, that he's got his shit together. He's doing really good. You know what I mean? Like, and like inside, I'm like hiding this shit. I'm hiding my pathway. And I'm like, that's just not a good feeling, like internally. And about a month and a half ago now, almost 2 months, I have a very small family after my dad's side of the family abandoned my mother and I. Like all it really is my grandmother, me, my mom, and I have an uncle and an aunt who live down in Florida who have no kids, right? And my grandmother passed away. And my mom found her on the bathroom floor. Oh, and I was the second one there. Or I was the second one to see her. Sorry, my fiance beat me to the house. But I was the second one to see her. And everybody told me not to go see her. Well, like, I had to, for me. Like, I needed to say goodbye. Like, I had some amends to make to her that I didn't get to make to her. And she's Jewish, so like we had to get her in the ground like ASAP, if you know anything about the faith. And like I wrote a eulogy for her funeral, and like thank God that I was around to be able to do that stuff, right? But like I wasn't talking about my feelings or what was going on with me, right? Like I wasn't. Like, everybody knew what happened. Everybody in my circle knew what happened. And they knew that my grandmother died and yada, 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 right? But, like, I wasn't talking about where I was at, right? And nobody knew I was on MAT. So what happens, right? Like, I make a decision to get a tattoo for, like, a memorial for my grandmother. And the guy that I have do my tattoo work, he's a friend, right? But all that means is that he comes to my house and does tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
And like I ended up meeting him. He did my tattoo, and like I knew he was using, so I just asked him. I didn't want to feel, you know what I mean? I didn't use the tools that I had been taught, right? And I got high, man, and like I held that in for about 3 weeks. I didn't tell anybody about my relapse, right? Because of that guilt and shame, right? Like I had myself so high up on a pedestal, and like I felt like other people did too, and whether that's the truth or not is really none of my business, but that's why I held it in. And then like when I was in a meeting on a Sunday night, I listened to this guy share who had 22 years in recovery, and he shared, he said, I'm back here with 7 days now because I kept one secret, and that one secret ended up taking him back out, right? And he said, if I could give anybody any advice at all, and that it's just like, your secrets will keep you sick, man, so get them out. And it hit me like, when he said that, it hit me like a ton of bricks right in the chest, right? And that next day I came out and I told my employer, right? I had to tell drug court, I had to tell everybody in the fellowship that I work, right, including my sponsor. But the hardest of all that was to tell my family, because that's my family, man, and nobody's closer to me than that. The good thing about that, like that whole relapse has been a nothing but growth for me after the initial shock, to be honest with you, because for one, like I found out that my employer supports me more than I know. My supervisor, the first thing she said was that she was proud of me for being honest, right? And I used that opportunity with my sponsor to tell him that I was on Suboxone. And he said, thank you for being honest with me. And I'm sorry that I made you feel like you couldn't tell me. Right? And now, right, like that only happened like a month and a half ago, or like maybe a month ago. And I feel like freer over this past month than like I think I felt over that whole 20 months or whatever it was, pretending I was abstinent.
Yeah.
To people.
Pretending is the worst.
Lying. It's lying. It's not technically lying, right? It's an omission.
Mission of the truth.
An omission is a fucking lie.
Yeah.
So either way, like it's not being 100%, right? And like I kind of like I went through recovery community, a coach academy, and like all that stuff. I coach people, and like the people that I coach and the people that I let in, they know like I'm 100% honest with them, about maintenance, about recovery, about everything. And so like I keep it 100 with them, and that I pride myself on that. You know what I mean? Like when I got into recovery, I stopped lying this time, right? Like this time in recovery 2 years ago, I stopped doing those behaviors, right? And I think that's what really saved my ass. It wasn't just putting the drugs down, right? Because I put the drugs down and I'm still fucking stuck with me, right? But like changing the behaviors of lying, of stealing, and like being able to show compassion and empathy to my peers and to people in my life, and like living a life of honor, as I put it, right? Like integrity is such a big thing with me, right? And like I could speak on integrity forever, dude, because I see so many people, and like it's not on me to judge, right? Like, and I'm not judging, but like I observe stuff, and like I notice people who are in 12-step fellowships that I know that they're working as hard as they can on their recovery, right? But they have to lie about being on Vivitrol or being on Suboxone, or they feel like they do anyway, because they feel like they're going to get shunned out of the room, right? And like, I know for me, that ate at my integrity for a long time. And like, I just feel for those people. And like, I never
That's
really
why we need to spread the word about Mara and about Real Talk Recovery, because I'm telling you, like I hid it from my sponsor for about 6 months, and then I was like, fuck this bullshit. And I said, I'm not, like, I couldn't handle it. I was like literally about to kill myself. And then after I told her it was all good, well, then I started trying to tell other people in the recovery community on Facebook. And these people are straight up egotistical, full of themselves. They think their shit don't stink just because they're sober from drugs. And they think that they can pass judgment on me for being on maintenance medication. And so, call it what you want to call it. I got a resentment and I started this channel, and it's been great ever since. We have the best, we have so much support, so much support. And then Mara on top of that, shoot.
So when this happened, right? The people that I work for, SOS Recovery Community Organization, has been one of the greatest supports out there that I've ever had in my life, right? Because they encouraged me to start looking for meetings that would suit me, right? And that's when I came across Mara. And like I started attending one meeting, right? And I was like, shit, I really I think I can fuck with this, right? Because we do all recovery meetings, which is all pathways, right? And then I went to another meeting, and like that meeting was a little better than the one before that, right? And then I started going like a couple times a week, and then 2 days ago when I was in that meeting and I met you, that was probably the best meeting I've been to, fellowship or not. And I don't even know how long, man. Like, I'm not discrediting 12-step fellowships because I think that the 12 steps are like a way of life and working on yourself that will help you explore yourself and
Oh, yeah.
teach you to live a better life. And like the process of going through the steps is absolutely wonderful. I think that there's people that aren't even in recovery that could benefit from some fucking 12 steps. But it is so biased in that one aspect, right? And it, like if everybody in a 12-step fellowship could pull the stick out of their ass about MAT, like we'd have nothing to worry about, and people wouldn't have to hide that shit. You know what I mean? And people would feel
They
free.
need to adopt an attitude of non-judgmental recovery, all-inclusive recovery.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And a lot of the times in the fellowships, I really believe that when Bill W. created AA, I believe that he intended for it to be a place for everyone, not just alcoholics. I think over the years, people have made it what they. There's bad seeds in every group, you know.
Yeah.
It's like putting a rotten apple in with a bunch of good apples, and it spreads, and all the other ones get rotten. That's what it's like. And there's some people that take the program to the next level on a cultish level, to where they believe that that's the only way to get sober. And I used to be one of those people because I had been to AA all my life. That's the only thing I knew. So when I went to get on Suboxone, I had to fight my inner self because of all the years that I had been taught the only way to recover was through 12 steps.
Yeah,
that's why so many people are like that, because they're not learning any other way. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you get raised up, if you're Catholic, and the only religion you're taught is Catholic. So when you get older and somebody says, hey, come to my church, it's Baptist, you're like, oh, no way, I'm Catholic. That's exactly what it's like. It's the only way we've all been taught. Well, so now it's 2020, baby. And there's Mara now, and there's maintenance medication, and it's more accepted because we're in a heroin, an opiate epidemic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so it's definitely needed. Maintenance medication is the gold standard for treatment for opiate addiction. Like, it saves more people's lives. I would argue to say that maintenance medication saves more people's lives than the 12 steps do.
Yeah. I know that MAT has saved multiple of my friends' lives, right? I know that it saved my life, right? And I know that, like, I am blessed to have the open-mindedness to be able to accept that, right? And to be able to love people where they're at, you know? And and not just leave them there. Like, because there's some people, like, over the course of this relapse, I'll tell you, there's some, and like finding out that I'm on Suboxone, there's some people that I built real relationships with, right? That since they found out that I was on Suboxone, they're nowhere to be found.
That's because they're pieces of shit, and you didn't need
It's
them in your
stigma.
No, you didn't need them in your life. No way.
Well, that just shows you that, like, there's a condition on the relationship, right? And I don't need that in my life today, right? And
Exactly.
It's just, like, if you believe everything, like, I believe everything happens for a reason, right? So I believe that this happened to open up my eyes to those people in my life, you know? And, like, it's just growth, man. Like, I'm looking at it as growth now. Like, when I first had to come out about it, right? And tell my truth, I catastrophized. You know what I mean? I thought everything was gonna end. The world's gonna end. I'm gonna get fired. My family's gonna leave me. Yada yada yada. And, like, none of that happened. None of that happened. The only thing that's happened has been a loss of relationships that I didn't really need anyway.
Right.
You know? And that's okay, man. Because, like, I'll still love those people for where they're at, and I won't leave them there. Right? Because I'm not going to sink down to that level. I don't need to go to the level that they're at, you know, and stigmatize them for their way. But it's kind of like, here's the resentment waiting to happen, right? And like I said, I'm not perfect, right? So, like, I kind of have that expectation in return, right? Like, if I'm gonna love you where you're at and not leave you there, like, then you need to do that for me. And I find that people don't sometimes, and those people that don't, maybe it's just like, there's a motivational speaker that says this, and it's huge with me. It says sometimes people are in your life for a reason, and sometimes they're in your life for a season. And it's important to remember when those people's seasons are over, right? Because they will always change, right? There's one thing, is that change will always happen, and something will always come in its place. That's the beauty of my recovery, right? That I found out, is that it's always changing, it's always evolving, and it's always growing, right? And what happens when it doesn't? We become complacent, man. And I don't believe that recovery should be like that. I know I don't want my recovery to be like that.
I hate that I hate that. I know that this happens to people because I experienced it myself, and I have hundreds of other people who've told me the same stories about going to 12-step fellowships and being treated like that by their sponsors, by speakers that are chairing the meeting, not allowing them to share. Okay,
Pushing
I've heard
people
it.
out.
I know it. It's a fact that it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that AA was meant for that to be like that? No, I don't think Bill W. meant for that shit to happen at all. But like I was saying, people do this. It happens all the
Uh-oh.
time. I get
I hope I didn't lose you. Uh-oh. No. Is it you that's frozen or me? Is it me that's frozen? Oh, I hate Zoom.
sorry, guys. I'm back.
There you are.
I don't know why there's 3 of me. Hold on just a second. Every now and then it'll kick me off. My Wi-Fi will just drop. Hold on. Let me.
You're all right.
So
I didn't know if it was you or me.
It's me. I know. Here's the thing. I just want people to understand something. Like, I believe in the 12 steps. I think that they work, but I truly need people to understand that this is happening. This is happening to people that are on maintenance medication and in 12-step fellowships all over the world. Okay, I have people all over. And so what people can do, that are part of these 12-step fellowships is not be that person that judges somebody else that's on maintenance. And when you see your fellows that are doing that, call them out. Tell them, hey, this is not what this is about. We're supposed to be loving and tolerant and supportive and uplifting and encouraging to anybody in recovery. And the only desire for membership, the only cost of membership is a desire to stop drinking or a desire to stop using. So if we're going by that AA and NA way, it shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter if an alcoholic takes Xanax for anxiety, does it?
Right.
No, because nobody fucking asks them. I know people that are 20 years sober that are alcoholic that take Xanaxes that's prescribed. My sponsor's one of them. Nobody asks them that. But when we're honest about being on maintenance medication, nobody, it's like we're being honest. I promise you, there are hundreds and hundreds of alcoholics and addicts that are in the rooms that are on prescribed medications, and they don't tell nobody ever. But the thing about it is just like you with me, it literally ate at my soul to not be able to be honest and not be able to tell people, But there's people out there that, like I said, they're on medications and they don't say nothing, never zip lipped, nothing. You'll never hear it out of their mouth. And those are some of the oldest old timers in the rooms. So I try not to get heated about this, but it makes me mad because a lot of people try to act like it's not happening, and it is happening. And that's why we created our own fellowship. That's why we have our own meetings.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm super grateful. Keep going, girl.
I just get so it makes me angry. It really does make me angry because I feel like I'm responsible for speaking for a marginalized group of people, vulnerable people who have been, and I take that responsibility gladly, and I don't mind doing it. I don't mind being the person that people send messages to and say, "You're not sober. I don't even know why you have a YouTube channel. Why are you sharing?" I don't mind it. I would rather have people do that to me all day long than to be the person who is newly sober on Suboxone that somebody says to them, "You're not going to stay on that forever, are you?" Do you know how many people I get phone calls from every single day, and they go, "Nicole, so-and-so told me I only need to stay on Suboxone for 2 weeks. What do you think?" Honey, I think I'm not a doctor, and neither is that person, so don't listen to him. Click. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, honestly, you guys, it's taken me every bit of 5 years to get to where I'm at today in my recovery, and I'm on 2 milligrams of Suboxone still. I started out on 12 milligrams. I started my taper last year in 2019 in March, and I'm down to 2 milligrams, and it's taken me every bit of those 5 years to get to a point where I don't want to get high anymore. Do I think about it? Do I have thoughts of using sometimes? Sure, I do. I think I will for the rest of my life. But the difference in it today is, Nate, push. The difference in today is that I don't act on the thoughts. I have practiced coping skills. I have practiced reaching out for help. I have literally created a community of people around me that if I wanted to go out and get high, I can just see it now. They'd be calling the police, sending them over here to swat me and everything in the house. It would be 911 status. But I had to do that for myself. I had to get people around me that could support me and help me stay accountable. And so I'm sorry. I'm sorry I get so angry about it, but it's just like, it doesn't matter what you have to do to get to where you're going. Like I said before, I have 5 years sober, and I know other people that have 5 years sober through abstinence. I have an extra tool in my tool belt. They have one less than me. Does that make our 5 years not the same? Does it make them better than me? Does it make me less than them? No. We're the same.
Right.
We're both miracles, and we both have something to be proud of. And when people finally start realizing that, then, and I think that a big change is happening in the 12-step fellowships and in the community overall, but we still got a long way to go, but it's happening. It's starting to catch on now. And you could ask Jeff and everybody. We've been going out this for 3 years now, 3.5 years, doing steady. And the Amera meetings on Zoom, when this pandemic hit, it really just, and then we started putting the links out and share, and now it's just starting to catch. Now we have a Amera meeting here where I live in real life, where I can go and I can get fellowship with other people that are just like me, and we're just starting that here in Arkansas. So it's like each state is kind of like, it's cool, but you can start a Amera meeting in your state. Like, you can do this. You don't have to be 25 years sober to have your own Amera meeting. You know, like anybody on this live can start a Amera meeting. You just got to reach out to the people in Amera and ask them about it. They'll send you the readings and stuff, and there you go. Okay, sorry about that.
You're good. You're good. No, it's good to see the passion about it. You know what I mean? Because there's people who get that passionate in their 12 steps. You know what I mean? And in the 3 Ps. And I think that, like, you should be passionate about your recovery. You know what I mean? It's definitely been the hardest thing in my life. You know, it's been the hardest thing in my life to find recovery. You know, I went from a place where I was just hopeless about everything, about my life. You know, I used to say when I am out there using, I'm basically suicidal. You know, and like, I'm happy about being alive today, and that in itself is a miracle. You know, and I'm grateful. I'm super grateful to be a part of this. You know, and like, I plan myself on advocating for it. I've talked to people that I work with about it recently. You know, like, I'm being open about it now, and like, that's what I want to do, man. I want to start advocating for people in my local area, you know, to be like okay with it, and like be proud of it, and like you said, like, it's just another tool in your tool belt. I couldn't agree with that more. I know that there's some people on this live tonight, and seeing this, I sent out a link to to people so they could see, like, what this is about, and like, they could check it out for themselves and know that, like, there's a lot of people that it's working for. And like, thank you guys for all your support, first of all, and let other people
There's
know.
like 40 people on this live, and there's probably more people over on Facebook. So, and here's the thing, like, you sharing your story is going to inspire somebody else to step up and share their story that maybe has been hiding away for a while too, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and don't beat yourself up about relapsing. Like, that was just to learn more experience, and now you know.
It, man.
So
yeah, that's it, man. So, like, and here's the other thing too, right? Like, some people would say that, like, their clean time started over. I don't believe that. For me personally, right?
I mean,
like,
I'm the same way with my husband. My husband has a issue with like slipping. I call it slipping. And I'm not trying to make light of it for him, but like, he's been doing so good for so long, I don't hold it against him. Now, for me, I'm kind of slick like that, and I would be out there trying to get one slip or two every other day, and so it would not be good. But it's, each person is different. If you looking at your time as time lost affects you negatively, then change it. Don't look at it like that. You know what I mean?
It's your recovery. It's your recovery, and you get to say what the fuck it is and how long you've been in recovery for.
Yeah.
Right?
And
so that's
and I would even beg to say, like, I don't know, I just look at it, I have changed my outlook on things so much, because you're in recovery when you say you're in recovery, and that's what Mara teaches us. And it teaches us not to be hard on ourselves, because we are more critical of ourselves than anybody will be. And so I think that really holds you back when you're constantly beating yourself down, you know?
Yeah, man, you got to put the bad away, you know? And I know that the people that have been there for me in my recovery since day one, they loved me until I could learn to love myself, you know, and like, I thank God for those people, man. I just want people in general who are on MAT to be fucking proud and to be able to find a group of like-minded people. You know what I mean? Because that's saved my ass, you know, and I don't know, like, thank you. You know?
You did good, man.
Thanks.
Yay! You did so good. I'm really proud of you, and I really do appreciate you. I know that it's like kind of nerve-wracking coming up on video and stuff, but so many people are going to benefit from hearing your story, and so many people are experiencing the same thing. And so I really want you to just know that I'm proud of you for coming up here, and you got my phone number, so call me, and I'll see you at our next Mara meeting.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, Nicole.
And send me links to your Facebook and everything so I can link them down below the video, okay?
All right, I got you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
So you guys, that was Tyler. And so just real quick before anybody gets upset, I know not everybody judges people that are on maintenance. I need you guys to listen to me, okay? There are a lot of people that do, though. And you guys know I love the 12 steps. But these people are hiding in those groups, and they are like that. And so I know that you guys, my Real Talk Recovery family members, aren't like that. I know that you guys don't judge people on maintenance, because if you did, you wouldn't be here with me. But it's kind of like when something bad's happening, you can't turn your back on it and act like it's not happening. Okay? It's happening. So what we have to do is shine a light on it and let people know, hey, we're not going to stand for that anymore. Our recovery is valid. We're proud of our sobriety. We're doing the damn thing, you know? And I really think that having our own 12-step fellowship, medication assisted recovery anonymous, MARA, is really just taking it to the next level. And so I really want to encourage any of you guys that are a part of Real Talk Recovery that are on maintenance, and you don't have meetings that you go to on a regular basis, to join us on MARA. All you have to do is go to mara-international.org, and you can find all the Zoom meetings listed there. Or you can join Real Talk Recovery's Recovery Support Hangouts chat, and we link every MARA Zoom meeting in those chats for anybody that wants to join us. So y'all know how passionate I am. This is like why I would have never started this channel if I hadn't been judged by somebody. I would have never even thought to come on and share about it. You know what I mean? But that's why I started this channel, because of the shit I got for being on maintenance and actually being proud to share my story. And so can't act like it's not happening, because it is. I'm sorry that it happens, because I wish it didn't. But that's why we are talking more about it and not being ashamed, you know, and sharing our stories. And yeah, so anyway, that's all. I just wanted to have Tyler come on because, like I said, we have a lot in common. I was the same exact way. I was very afraid to share because of what I had heard people saying, because of the way people got treated. And so I'm just really thankful to be able to give people that are on maintenance a platform to share their stories here and help encourage other people that are in the same situation. And really, that's what it's all about, you guys. Like, this is not about me. I really just want to help you guys not feel like you're so alone, because it sucks feeling like that. It's not a good feeling. And so you're never alone when you are part of this channel, and you're never alone when you're a part of MARA. So I hope you guys will join us, and I love y'all. And I'm going to shut this video off now, because y'all know how emotional I get. But I'm proud of you guys. I see you, Hitman. 21 days off of meth. That's awesome. I'm so proud of you. Hey, girl. I see you, Rai. What's up, girl? I'm so glad all of you guys came. Hey, Joe. I see you, too. Hey, Artful Dodger. Where you been? Where you been, Jonathan? So many of you guys I have not seen. Where have you guys? Some of y'all have been hiding out. Let me check with everybody. Let me say hi to everybody. I saw Amanda. Hey, girl. Thanks for coming to the live stream. For real. Thank you all y'all for the support. You know, that's how we do it together. So, okay, so what's tonight? Tonight's Wednesday. I was going to say, I think LT's on next, but I don't think he goes live on Wednesdays anymore. I missed you too, girl. Yeah, you know I'm always here every night, you guys. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do a shorter, about 30-minute live stream where we just do like a quick meditation and talk about it. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm trying to have speakers. So Monday, if you missed it, Jeff, the co-founder of Mara, came on and shared his story. And then tonight was Tyler. And then Friday, I don't know if I'll have a speaker. Oh, no. Friday, we're doing a Mara meeting, but I have to do a in real life Mara meeting first. So Friday at 5:30 here in Little Rock, Arkansas at 11219 Financial Parkway Center. We are going to have a Mara meeting. So I hope you guys, if you live in Arkansas, can come join us. And then right after that meeting, I'm going to speed home, and then I'm going to start the meeting here at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So back to back on Friday. So I'll see you guys Friday at 7, tomorrow at 8. And I love you guys. My little chicken nuggets coming down here.
Well, I can't buy V-Bucks for some reason.
Oh.
Can you try to buy me 1,000 V-Bucks?
Do y'all hear that? We need donations for V-Bucks, please. Donations, please. I'm just playing. Love you guys. See y'all tomorrow at 8. Hold on, buddy. I'm going to try. And LT is on Thursday. Yes.